Hello and thanks for joining me. Today we're going to talk about colour again. I have done a video on colour before and I did explain why I think actually you really ought to find your own colour palette, your own favourites, have a go at mixing, because we all see colour differently and we all have our own favourite colours. Having said that, I mean, if you didn't see that video, I'll pop the link to that one up here. But having said that, I do get asked an awful lot about mixing, especially mixing greys. And I get asked a lot of questions about black. So today I'm just really going to talk about grey and black. But like I say, have a go yourself and find what works for you. Our eyes all see things slightly differently, so you really need to do it yourself and make notes, you know, do little colour swatches and make notes. So the first thing to say about the black really is, you can see from my black here that I hardly ever use it. I really don't like using black straight from the pan like that. If you have a look at that, to me it's a very flat, boring, uninspiring colour. Or not really a colour, if you like. Okay, so I very rarely use it like that, but that isn't to say that you can't. It's a very personal thing and it's entirely up to you. So what I would suggest, if you did want to use the black from the pan, is just pop some on your palette and mix a little bit of blue into it. So I've just got some ultramarine here. Mix that in. And it's a much richer colour. So you've still got that nice dark colour, but it's a much richer colour than the black on its own. Okay, so that's just one little tip for the black. Next to the black we have Payne's grey, and as you can see I've used that quite a bit. However, I very rarely use that one on its own. I quite often put it into other things to make them darker. Because to me the Payne's grey isn't a grey, it's very bluey. But again, your eyes might see it differently. And it just depends on your subject, and you know, some subjects you might like that straight from the pan as it is. Other subjects you might just like to mix it together with something else. Now, to make your own greys, you can use a combination of the three primary colours, but you're going to get very different greys depending on which three primary colours you choose. So we've got all these blues, all these different yellows, and again lots of reds. So whichever you choose from each one to mix together, you're going to get a very different grey. So I'll just start and mix one that I like, which is some Cobalt Blue. And again, it will depend very much on the make of paint, the amount of pigment that you put in. Don't think that you need to put equal amounts of each colour in either. Some are much stronger, particularly if you use a bright red like this, that's going to be much stronger than the blue. So if you put equal quantities in, it's going to be, you know, go towards the red. So I've got a rose red there that I've just put in, and then the yellow ochre. Now I haven't sort of measured any of those, I've just put a bit of each in, and what I do is I'll just mix those together and then give them a try. And again, depending what subject you want, it's going to depend whether it's a good grey for you or not. So to me that's quite a reddy grey. So if I wanted it to be a bit more on the blue side, I'll pop some blue in and then test it again. And then we've got a much more blue grey, and that might be quite nice for something like limestone. So you can go all the way from a very blue grey right through to almost a brown. So again, if we go back and add some extra yellow, then you're going to get something that's going more towards a greeny brown colour. So just those three colours, it gives you an indication of how many greys and browns you can get from those three colours. So cobalt, rose red and yellow ochre. Now we'll try three different primaries. So this time we'll go for ultramarine, a much darker blue, much richer blue, a very rich red, this bright red here, so making already a very deep colour, and a cadmium yellow. not a combination I would naturally go for, but let's see what we make. So again, the first mix, I can see already I've got the red and the yellow are quite dominant there. The yellow's quite dominant. So to come back towards the grey side, I'll put extra blue in. Okay, so you can see you can just keep balancing it between whether you want to, and that's very grey, that one, that's actually very nice, just flat grey really. So you keep balancing it between the browns and the greys, depending on whether you put more blue in, more red in or more yellow in. And using your eye, you should be able to tell when you've gone wrong and put too much of one colour in. So let's have another look at it with too much yellow in. It's difficult, not always easy to tell on the palette, but once you put it on your paper, your eye should immediately be able to tell you that that's got too much yellow in, and in order to balance it, you need to go back to your reds and your blues. And then again, too much red in. But you might find that that's perfect for what you're doing. It might be a brick wall that you're doing, and those greys might just be perfect for what you want. So that's the way you get your greys really. Your three primaries, any combination of a blue, a yellow and a red, and just keep practicing, mixing different amounts of pigments and choosing different blues and reds and yellows. But there's a quick way to make a grey as well, which I use a lot, and that's a very handy tip to know if you don't, and that's French Ultramarine mixed with some burnt sienna. Because the burnt sienna sort of got reds and yellows in it, and so it makes a kind of nice grey colour. Okay, and if you want to go darker with that, add more blue and make it thicker with less water. So I'm a bit distracted, the dog outside's just nicked off with some rubbish that I left out there, but my daughter's sorting him out. Excuse me a minute. I'm sorry, I became distracted there. My daughter was messing around outside the door with the dog. Yeah, so if you want to make it darker, the mix that we made from the ultramarine and the burnt sienna, you could add some Payne's grey to it as well. But of course you could just add more pigment and less water. But adding the Payne's grey to that mix that you've just made makes quite a nice dark colour as well. I'll just add more pigment and no more water and show you what a nice rich, because you can almost get a black by having very little water with these three colours. So in there we've got the ultramarine, a little bit of Payne's grey and plenty of burnt sienna, and we'll put it next to those blacks, and can you see that's a much richer, nicer colour than that black from the pan? I think so. I use that a lot for cows and things like that. To me, that's a much richer colour than that black that we had from the pan. Okay, so just a short video today, and I just want to finish by saying thank you very much to everyone who's subscribed over the last few weeks. You might have noticed that I've reached 1,000 subscribers this week. That does actually give me the ability now to stream live if I can. Unfortunately, I don't have Wi-Fi in my studio, but I do have Wi-Fi obviously in the house. So if you did want me to do a question and answer session, I could do that up in the house. So if there's any interest for that, if you'd let me know in the comments below, it might be something I could consider for in a few weeks' time, but I'll obviously let you know when I will do that live stream. It's not yet available to me on my phone, otherwise I could use it down here, but that will be something that will come in time. So thank you very much for everybody who has subscribed to me, and for all the support of those of you who have got me this far, up to the 1,000 subscribers. So if you'd like me to go more in depth on colour and colour mixing, I'll do some more on that another day, but today I just thought we'd stick to those greys and browns, because that's what I seem to be getting asked about quite a lot, particularly the grey. and you can really make some beautiful greys just with a different combination of your 3 primaries. Like I say, these pinky ones are really nice for things like limestone, paths, gravel, but you know, you really need to look. And you can actually do a whole painting using just 3 primary colours. In fact, that's a good test for you. If you're a beginner to watercolours, just get 3 primary colours and try and do a whole painting, making all your own greens, all your own greys and browns, and you'll be surprised just the variety of colour you can get just using those 3, mixing your own. And always have a little bit of paper on the side. You'll see that I'm working on top of a big piece of rough paper that I can just quickly test the colours on when I'm working. So always have a piece of rough paper there, and always just test your colours before you put them into your actual painting. Okay, so thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye for now.